Yo, what up? What up? It's the Over Under podcast. Hey, everybody. He's Dan Lefschatz. I'm Joe Murray. Let me try to make ourselves bigger. Hell, whoa! Look how big we are now.
It's way too close.
Oh, we'll have some fun with this.
Bro,
hey, what a day! Woo! And we get football tonight. In a game that I've asked everybody anybody that's everybody, hey man, who you like tonight? And everyone's like, oh well, it's the Vikings and the Steelers. Everyone's got an opinion about tonight's game. When it comes to Thursday night football, there's no more college on Thursday nights unless we get the bowl season. That's sad. And we're still rolling out the basketballs, Dan.
Yep.
I've actually hit some NBA this week. Second halves I've been a dabbling. I've noticed a little trend with some teams. But anyways, it's Thursday night. Dan, I know we sometimes neglect the hoop, the old basketball there, the peach basket. So let's take a gander on what's on the college basketball slate.
Okay.
For the evening, obviously Purdue has moved into the top slot, and you were very, very big on them earlier this year. So
I was. Yep.
Gotta give you credit for that one. But top 25 action tonight, just off Texas Seton Hall. Purdue is in action against Rutgers. The Zags are playing Merrimack.
Yep, they are. They're hosting Merrimack, and Iowa State is.
So that's a goodie. That's a goodie right there.
Yep.
So that's your top 25. Not sure what else you got out there. I know there's a bunch of other games tonight.
Some smaller games. Look, you have Colgate Pittsburgh. You basically have a non-Power 5 versus one of the worst Power 5 teams. Grand Canyon, Arizona State is the late game tonight, Joe. Grand Canyon was my team for a couple of years there. They were undervalued on court, just wasn't valued correctly. They are on the road at Arizona State tonight. Arizona State was laying 5. That's down to 3.5. So interesting there. And then we have some not so good games. Bethune-Cookman, NC State. Probably not going to be a win for Bethune-Cookman, but we'll see. Long Island takes on Fordham. Not a great game there. Detroit Mercy heads to Kent to play Kent State. Hampton and William & Mary. So, and I will say with this is a good game. Monmouth St. John's. So, Monmouth, has been pretty good. And, I guess I might as well wrap it up and mention Denver, New Mexico is another decent game on the slate tonight.
Purdue, man, playing Rutgers tonight. I don't know, is it when a team becomes number one and they go on the road, isn't that a fade right off the bat?
No, not for me. But I do think that this is going to be an interesting battle. Rutgers has not been good away from home this year, but they have been. They've been significantly better at home so far.
They beat Purdue last year, 81-76.
They did, and outside the Lafayette game this year, which was incredibly weird, just a weird game. Rutgers is right now 4-1 at home, and last time they were at home, they played Clemson and they played them well. Obviously, Clemson not the same talent as Purdue, but you beat Clemson by 4 or by 10 going away at home. It was a pretty convincing win. Purdue to me, again, I love Purdue, but they play up and down to their opponents, in my opinion, sometimes. A good example of that was Iowa. They had a big lead at Iowa, let it slip away, and then kind of ended up pulling away at the end there by 7. But look, Purdue has really, kind of trampled over everyone they face this year, whether it's UNC, they beat them by 9. Nova, they beat by 6. Florida State, they kicked the shit out of them, almost beat them by 30. Iowa by 7. This is a really, really good team. The biggest thing with Purdue so far is they have not had a true road game. So this is going to be their first true road game in Rutgers. It's not exactly a hard place to play, but it's not the easiest in the world either. And this is going to be their first road game and their only road game for the entire month of December. The spread open 13. It's up to 13 and a half some places. I don't feel great about them covering tonight. First true road game for a team. Number one, they've had they played a lot of good games, a lot of good teams. They've had some time off. I think it'll put potentially a little rust. I don't hate Rutgers first half, just as a look. And I'm not going to play anything, but I lean Rutgers with the full game. I just think that first true road game for a team like that is, it's a little tougher.
All right, man. I'm just gandering. Okay. Just a gander, looking at some of the teams. I've watched Iowa play. I haven't seen Iowa State play. They seem to be pretty heavy favorite. Well, actually, they're getting 5 right now.
This one's definitely interesting. Iowa laying 5 on the road at Ames against an 8-0 team in Iowa State who is 5-0 at home. So look, this is a really big game. It's I know pretty much everyone I know is going to be on Iowa State. I had random college basketball friends text me and be like, "What's the deal with Iowa State today? Why are they 5.5-point dogs?" I think Iowa's really, really good, and their 2 losses so far this year are Purdue and Illinois. And first off, Purdue is no laughing matter. I think we know that. And Illinois played a really strong game against them. I think this is a good rebound spot for them. I think they were probably looking a little bit ahead of Illinois to Iowa State, and I do think this is a good rebound spot for Iowa. The number is big, but this is an Iowa State coming off a road win against Creighton, so definitely potential for a letdown spot here. Yeah, I understand the spread. I actually make Iowa a bigger favorite than they are at the spread right now. I would personally. I played them at 4.5 last night, but I'm not PPing it. It's up to 5 most places now. I think it's you don't want to do that. I am going to have a play on this game, however. Give me the over 151 Iowa State tonight, Joe. These teams should light it up. There should be points in this one. I expect a pretty high scoring game. I make the number around 155, 156. So, I expect some points in the Iowa State game tonight.
All right, bro. I'm not sure what else we got out there, but Dan just gave out a college basketball pick. Why don't we look at the NBA, which I know it's national television tonight.
You don't want to talk about some of the other games tonight? There are a few.
Well, it's up to you. I just don't have any picks. That's all.
That's okay. Yeah. Well, quickly, let's talk about them. Texas Seton Hall, Joe. This should be a game that you should watch because this is a big game between 2 ranked teams coming up in about an hour.
Seton Hall, I'm down on. I actually watched their only loss against Ohio State, so that's all I can tell you at this point about them.
Texas's only loss is against Gonzaga. So again, they haven't played exactly. They haven't really played anyone outside of Gonzaga, to be perfectly honest with you. But their only loss is against Gonzaga. Seton, outside of Michigan and Ohio State, really hasn't played anyone either. This is at home. It's a Seton home game. Texas opened as a 1-point favorite. I'm surprised the spread has swung as far as it's definitely been sharp. But Seton Hall now a 1.5 to 2-point favorite at home against a very good Texas team, Joe. Texas still kind of mixing rotations and whatever. They've lost their only true road game, which was at Gonzaga, so hard to measure. I mean, look, I know it's early for you. Any thoughts on this one, Joe? I do think that this is I think this is a really, really good game tonight. I think this
off the bat, Seton Hall's really good at home. So, Texas, this game's on the road, right?
Yep, 5-0 at home for Seton Hall.
Yeah, they're 5-0 at home. I mean, they get like guys who can score double figures, like 3 different guys who can do that. They've won 4 in a row since that loss. They're definitely tougher than Texas. Like, I know that. Didn't they beat Michigan?
Yes. Yep. Seton Hall beat Michigan.
And I watched that Ohio State game. Ohio State just Seton Hall came back. They came back in that game. That was
a big win versus Michigan. That was on the road, and they beat them by 2.
Yeah, I'm a little torn. Like Texas is probably the better team. Can Texas go on the road against a tough ass team? It's a good question. So and they're already 0-1, the Texas team on the road this year. So
At Gonzaga. So
yeah, that's true.
to be fair, it's harder. Okay, all right. St. John's, Monmouth. People have asked me about this game today too. It's not a major game, but still a pretty important
Hey,
one.
Monmouth's been great against the spread. I saw some stat the other day.
Monmouth has been awesome in general. They're 7-1 so far this season in the MAAC. The MAAC. They beat Cincinnati on the road, and Cincinnati has been hot. They've been fantastic on the road this year. Monmouth started off with 6 away games of their first 8 games, and they won. They've won 5 of those. I mean, really, really impressive road record. 5 of them were on the road. St. John's right now, 6-1 at home. Their only home loss was against Kansas. They did not play well in that game. Did not cover the spread. I can tell you that. Look, St. John's has played 2 real teams this year, Kansas and Indiana, and they lost to both of them. Indiana on the road by 2, Kansas at home by 20. So I'm a little concerned. This is definitely going to be this is going to be a step up and a bigger test for them. They have Monmouth, they have Colgate, they have Pitt, and then Seton coming up in the next couple of days. So the next stretch is really going to define how St. John's looks. They've been a little bit disappointing so far this season, without a doubt. I don't think this is the worst spot to back them in. I understand people liking Monmouth, though. They've been fantastic on the road. I lean St. John's, though. I do. I think that this is a decent spot for them. And then finally, Joe, the last one we talked about, Grand Canyon, my Grand Canyon team on the road in Tempe versus Arizona State, who has really struggled to start the season. They're 3-6. They've lost to Riverside. They lost San Diego State. They lost to Baylor, Syracuse. They lost to Washington State. They scored 29 total points against Washington State. Not even a real score. I mean, you couldn't even believe that was a real score. However, on the road at Oregon, they finally pick up a big win against a decent, pretty good program. Their first win against at least a Power 5 program for sure. They also have a loss to Loyola mixed in there. And now they get Grand Canyon at home.
Do you know the story here? So 2 Arizona State players now play at Grand Canyon. And also last year, Arizona State won by 1 point.
Yeah, so I was going to say, this is a little bit of a rivalry game. There are a lot of ASU castaways, as you could say. They're on the Antelopes, and I do think this Grand Canyon team, once again, underrated going into the year. You can see the Sharps like the Grand Canyon side going from 5 to 3.5 tonight. I also lean that way. I think Grand Canyon covers the spread. I think they win outright. I look at this Arizona State team. This is a perfect letdown spot after that Oregon win. And this team, just to be perfectly honest, it just isn't that good. Not to mention they have Creighton coming up. It is just not a great spot for Arizona State. I like Grand Canyon with the 3.5. There are some 4s out there as well. See if you can shop around and get a 4. But not a good spot. Between 2 road games, you get a win in Oregon. And then you face a Grand Canyon team maybe that you think is probably not exactly quite your equal. And then you're on the road to Creighton in 4 or 5 days from then. So I do think there's a spot to back Grand Canyon if you're looking at spot betting in college. I don't think this is a terrible one either. So there you go. All right, Joe, you want to talk about the NBA? Take it away.
All right, the Lakers are on a back-to-back tonight, which I don't think guys will play them. Or are they on the back? No, I'm sorry. They have the night off. They played the. I would fade them tonight. I know they're giving 4 points to Memphis. Memphis has been decent this year. So I just off the bat, and 222 seems high, or 223 seems high. The other thing too is the Jazz are getting points. Oh no, they're giving fee. Okay, I thought the Jazz, they should be favored. And then tonight, I don't know, Denver's probably better than San Antonio, even though San Antonio's favored. But that Lakers game, I'm looking at it. I see an under. I see 223 is the number. Let me give you some. When the Lakers win, they follow up the next game. The under's 5-1 in the next game. And in this meeting, the under has gone 7-0 the last 7 meetings when they play in Memphis, these two teams. And in the last 12 meetings overall, 10-2 is the under. So I was eyeballing it. I think 223 is too many. So that's just one thing I look. I'll PP it. Let's do it. Under 223.5, Lakers, Memphis.
There you go. Nice little PP for you there. You got a couple of early plays on the podcast tonight. Utah, Joe, coming off the win over the Timberwolves, where they absolutely kicked the crap out of that Minnesota team last night and beat them by 32. Minnesota did a lot of bitching after that game about the refs and how bad the Jazz are, Rudy Gobert, and et cetera, et cetera. Joel Embiid is back, Joe. I do think that Utah on a back-to-back road trip coming off a asking of Minnesota. Do you think there's a potential letdown spot here for Utah? Because I got to be honest, I kind of like the spot for the Sixers at home against this Jazz team. I'm not saying that they're bad. I just kind of think this is not the worst spot in the world. And, Philly did play last night as well, but they're back home. And they're fresh off a win against Charlotte. I don't hate the spot for them, to be perfectly honest with you.
Yeah, I don't either. Jazz have been hot, 8-2. Philly 6-4 in their last 10. I didn't realize Denver's been kind of bad lately. Now that I'm kind of looking at
well, Jokic has been in and out of the lineup, so that that makes some sense to it. So far this year, Joe, Lakers 4-5 away from LA, 13-12 overall. The Grizzlies had them 8-6 at home this year, getting 4. Yeah, I mean, this to me is, again, one of those things. The Lakers coming off that win against the Celtics. All right, so now they're on the road. Memphis coming off the loss to Dallas, and I do think this is kind of a not so terrible spot to kind of bounce back. Now they did play last night, so maybe a little bit tired early on or a little bit tired later on. But I do think that, at least in my opinion, I think that if you're looking for a couple of dogs to play in the association, I do not mind the Sixers and the Grizzlies tonight. I think those are two potential, first off, a letdown spot for Utah and a letdown spot for LA against a backup spot or a get right spot, for Memphis. So I kind of like those. I have nothing on the totals, Joe. I got nothing on the totals for any of the games. And I think the totals have been there. There were a couple weeks there where unders were just insanely hot, but right now totals seem to be spot on. The Lakers total opened at 221 up to 223.5. That Utah Sixers total opened 216.5. That is down a little bit. And the Nuggets Spurs opening at 213.5. That is up to 215.5 as well. So a little bit of sharp movement on the totals tonight, but nothing extraordinary.
Bruins are in Edmonton in the NHL. Can the Bees knock off Edmonton? I mean, I feel like they have a problem with that team.
Yeah, again, this is a Bruins team. I think we've talked about it before. This is kind of what you see is what you get with this Bruins team. I've not been all that impressed with the Bruins at all, but I do think that this is the Bruins. They've been playing better as of late, in my opinion. I do think that this is a spot, and I know the scores don't reflect it. The loss, at Vancouver the other night, not great. The loss versus Tampa, but I thought, the Predators win after the Detroit loss was one of the better games that they played this season. I do still think that this team is capable of putting together a run, especially in Canada. They should bounce back against Edmonton tonight. I don't hate them, Joe, especially depending on what price they're getting them at. But if you can get them plus 110, I don't hate the value there. Is there anyone that you like in the I guess Bucks tonight? I like Chicago. I know it's sharp. I know it's square. But I like Chicago against Montreal. That team is just they're just a disaster right now, man. They really are. They're absolutely a disaster. They're 0-4 their last 4. I know Chicago has had a slow start to the season, but yeah, until this Canadian team kind of turns it around, I think I'll take the Blackhawks and and kind of what they've done recently. At least they've been up and down against this garbage Montreal team. So yeah, it's gonna be play. It's gonna be square. It's gonna be public. I like the Blackhawks tonight. And I also kind of like Tampa a little bit as well. I don't, getting plus 120 ish right there. I think is going to be a decent number for them too. So those are the three games that I'm liking, at least in on the ice tonight, Joe.
I feel a little under in that Bees game there. I'll give it out. I'll do it.
Okay.
I'll do it. Give me the under 6 goals.
There you go. The under 6 in the Bruins Oilers tonight. I'm still have not officially started into hockey, but I think I'm going to start doing that next week. I still have to clean off and dust off the old model to kind of get that going and everything. As you remember, we were doing NHL games about a week in advance a couple years ago. Not as easy anymore, unfortunately, but we'll try and dust it off and see what we got. Joe, do you have anything? Do you want to save the Army Navy game for the podcast, or do you want to discuss it right now?
I might as well save it because we got a big NFL game tonight.
Yeah, all right, fine. Well, we will save that. All right, Joe. NFL, Vikes Steelers. The whole world's been asking, what do you like?
So I had Pittsburgh last week. And I had, was it Minnesota last week? No, I didn't have Minnesota. I had them 2 weeks ago. So I tried to get some. I've really looked at this game tonight. I really have. It's a real, like, I don't know how else to say this. It's a motherfucker. This is one of those, like, this game's tough. What did I have? Let me just pull up I made some notes for this one. Okay. Tonight's a huge game for the Steelers, by the way. Right? They play tonight. They play the Titans, Chiefs, Browns, Ravens. When they're an underdog, they're 5-2 against the spread. In one-score games this year, the Vikings have 4 wins and 7 losses. The Steelers have 6 wins and 1 loss and 1 tie. So if it's going to be a close game, give me the Steelers, right? But don't you have to think it's going to be a close game? Where it's like, do you want to favor the Vikings in that case? When the Vikings are at home, right? So yeah, I'm just looking at this one. 12 games, the Vikings this season at home. They're 3-2 money line, 2-3 against the spread. They've had 11 one-score decisions, 8 games decided in the final minute or in OT. So, who's favorite tonight, by the way? I'm sorry.
The Vikings are -3.
So, 5 games as a favorite this year. They're 1-3-1 against the spread, and they're 2-3. But they're a home favorite, 0-2 against the spread this year. A lot of stats. I'm sorry. A lot of trends.
Okay, I'm just going to say this. I know Minnesota's coming off the back-to-back losses on the road. Take a look at Minnesota's body of work at home this season. Outside of the recent fiascos, home win against Seattle, home loss against the Browns, home win against the Lions, home loss by 4 against the Cowboys, home win against the Packers. They've been up and down, but they've been pretty good. They've been in all these games. The Browns losses by a touchdown, the Cowboys losses by 4. They've been in all these games, and I think when they face teams that they're better than, they beat them at home, and that's exactly what I think the Steelers are. I think the Steelers are a team that are, very average, and I don't think they do a lot of things well. I think that they've, been very lucky to face the schedule that they have. Let's not forget, this is a team that, outside of that win last week, just got absolutely pounded in by the Bengals. The Chargers score on, primetime, I think it was a slight mislead, and they didn't look very good against the Lions. But my big point here is that they came off a big win against the Ravens there. That was a massive win for them to stay in the playoff picture. Minnesota comes off a heartbreaking loss. This is a you say this is a big game for Pittsburgh. I think it's a much bigger game for Minnesota because if they don't win this game, they're 5-8. They're probably really looking on the outside looking in of the playoffs. So to me, this is almost a must win for Minnesota, especially with the divisional game of the Bears coming up next week. I think that's maybe the spot to fade Minnesota with the Rams potentially on deck from there. But I like this game for Minnesota. Short week, clear head against against that loss from the Lions, bounce back, and Pittsburgh has to come up with a short week and go on the road to Minnesota off a big emotional win. Give me Minnesota -3 tonight against Pittsburgh. PP. I just think the spot is really good. And look, I don't value Pittsburgh again as a playoff team. You take a look at their wins this year. Their best win so far is against the Ravens in their division. I mean, really, that says it all to me. You got the Bills week 1, which was again that game was they were getting destroyed by the Bills in the first half. Bills just fell apart in the second half. Broncos, Seahawks, Browns, Bears. And now the Ravens. They're just really not that impressive when they faced, in my opinion, teams who are better than them. Bengals, Packers, Chargers. Like they're not nearly as good. And I'm gonna take the spot, and I think I'm gonna take the better team, in my opinion, especially with Dalvin Cook in tonight. He is playing. I'm gonna take Minnesota to run the football and beat up on this Pittsburgh Steelers team coming off a big win against Baltimore at home.
So I'll give you a few things to back you up. So you're right. Steelers are 0-5 against the spread the last 5 games, following an against the spread win. They're also 0-5 against teams with a losing record against the spread. And this year, when they come off a straight up win, so let's use Buffalo for an example. They're 1-4 against the spread after a straight up win. So they, obviously, you know what I'm saying? So when they win, they generally follow up with a fail against the spread the next game.
Yeah, I mean, they did have a stretch run for about 4 games there. They beat the Broncos, the Seahawks, the Browns, and the Bears. They were playing great football. They looked like they had turned it around, and then they are now 1-2-1 in their last 4 games. They're 1 win against the Ravens. I just think this is a really important game for Minnesota. I understand the importance for Pittsburgh too. I get it, but I just don't think this team is that good. To be perfectly honest with you, I think their record's a little bit inflated. I think Minnesota probably should have had some of these wins. That 34-33 loss to the Cardinals, you make your field goal, that's a win. You're now 6-6 instead of 5-7. You can talk about the touchdown call back against the Browns. Talk about the loss last week in the final seconds against the Lions. The 3-point loss against the Ravens. This team has not been good in close games. I 100% agree with that. But I think Minnesota in the spot should be the play tonight. And people have asked me already, what do you think about props? What do you think about props? What do you think about the total? So total is down from 46.5 to 44.5 across the board. Pretty much everyone has 44s and a halves right now. Look, I don't love anything in terms of the total tonight. In terms of what's going to happen with the Minnesota backfield, I think you'll see Cook rotate in with Madison. I think those two hopefully will be effective together. I think if you limit Cook's touches tonight, it might be slightly better for them. Yeah, I think I actually think that probably spells trouble, and we are seeing some 3.5s pop on Minnesota now instead of 3s. So there is a little bit of sharp action there. Not that it really matters, but yeah, I think Minnesota is the side for me tonight, and I'm gonna pass on the props, man. I don't know what type of game to expect. I do think that if you're looking for something to play, Ben Roethlisberger interception -110 is not the worst play I've ever had. So yes, that'd be yes on the Roethlisberger interception prop.
I'm going to take a shot at a Pat Freiermuth anytime touchdown tonight, +190.
He is +215. Shop that.
Wow, DraftKings 190.
Yeah, that is not a good number, DraftKings.
Again, give me the 215 PP, please. Thank you.
Yeah, I actually took some of that earlier. Yeah, that's how I know. I know exactly what it is. Yeah, 250.
Well, he's coming along now. Ben's starting to like him. I think Ben realizes he's got. And dude, we knew this kid right for years. He's now developing as their top tight end, and Ben's been better since finding him. He's the difference, not Ben. But I'm just saying, I think Freiermuth might be a nice little red zone target tonight.
Okay. Yeah. Again, I gotta be perfectly honest. There's not a lot of props I love tonight. There are some, again, I'm an under guy. I'm always an under guy. I do think it's interesting. We're seeing that Justin Jefferson reception prop at 7.5 right now instead of the usual 5.5, 6.5 for him. So could indicate a potentially big night for Justin Jefferson. We're seeing Claypool still at the 3.5. Same with Deontay Johnson. He is at 6.5 tonight, which is usually his normal spot, 6.5, 5.5. We are seeing Najee Harris, by the way, the prop score right there, 72.5 yards, rushing yards, very down from last week, where he was at the mid 80s, or actually low 80s, but got to the mid 80s there. So, all right, Joe, any other thoughts going into tonight's games?
Nothing, man. Just I'm ready for championship weekend. I know we're a week out. Starting to get my eyes on the old basketballs, Dan. Cool. Starting to open it up a little bit. So, last week I said we'd roll out the basketballs. I think it's time to do that this week. So that's it, man. We did a 35-minute podcast. How about that? A little short one here.
There you go. Yep, 30 minutes. Banged out 4 plays for you guys. Hopefully we have a nice night tonight, nice Thursday night to get it going into the weekend, Joe.
And while we're on that, we're gonna do another podcast, our typical weekly podcast, but the only college football game is Army Navy. And then I don't know, maybe we'll look ahead at some of the bowls and whatever.
I think we take a look at some of the bowl games. I think we take a look at some of the bowl games, and we talk about maybe some early movement. I know people, have kind of questioned what's been going on in the Western Michigan game. That spread moved a lot. The Pitt Michigan State game has been one that's been kind of topic of discussion there. Kenny Pickett may not play. The market's clearly reflecting he will not play. So we'll discuss all of that tonight. And then, of course, Saturday, NFL, we'll do the live show. We'll discuss the NFL games. And, of course, Army Navy again Saturday morning as well. So.
All righty. That's it. Adios, amigos. Good luck
tonight, guys.
We'll talk to you.